day, good evening, and good screaming. I am Jello Biafra, and this is Renegade Roundtable. Many years ago, I was up in Seattle with a couple friends, Vic Bondi and Chris Novoselic, once in Nirvana, and they're both saying, yeah, we need to go see Gino tonight. Let's go see Gino. Who's Gino? And they explained it was a recent migrant refugee from Bosnia who was a pretty prominent musician there, but had to flee because of all the violence, a lot of it courtesy of a guy named Milosevic, and had wound up in Seattle and was playing in a little boathouse or something down by the water on a dock. So we go down, and it's slightly electrified and very danceable Balkan folk music, slightly gone electric, and quite fun. And great conversation with Gino, instantly establishing himself as one of those characters people like me should know and mount them on the virtual gallery of my weird friends. And then the next thing I hear from him, the band is now called Culture Shock, Kulturshok. Not to be confused with Dick Lucas's Culture Shock, spelled the King's English way. It was a much, much, much more powerful beast. Definitely what some people might call Gypsy Punk, but in a different way than Gogol Bordello, maybe more guitar heavy, actually, and a little closer to one-time alternative Tentacles recording band with other refugees from unspeakable police harassment and the rest from the communist government in Czechoslovakia way back when. Without further ado, as Culture Shock just took off and even went back to the home country and blew everybody's mind many times, here is the one and only Gino Jevdevic.
What's up, Jello? How you doing? You forgot to tell people actually that you are the one who introduced us to Billy, who later on introduced us to the record label, that later on made us travel the world, and here we are 26 years ago. So
and then here we are back again, and new 7-inch and an album, and then a newer one now, finally, after all these years, on alternative Tentacles. Welcome, and welcome to the show. Going back even further than that, what created you?
What created me? I don't know. I usually don't. I don't believe in creators. I would rather say that I'm stupid and not educated enough to know who really the creator is. I mean, I know my mom. I don't know my father. I know who he is. He died when I was 9 months. I shouldn't be this ambiguous. But out of the old creators, I kind of turn to my mom mostly. Like you to yours, right? They're approximately the same age.
Did you have a stepfather?
No, amazingly so. She was you can say whatever you want about socialism, but women over there had rights, not just rights, they had power. My mom was a judge and the president of the court and the Supreme Court justice, and at the end of her career, she was the head of the Supreme Court, like Roberts is today, right? And she retired at the age of 60, exactly how old I am right now, because the war was coming and she didn't want to dirty her hands. I really, yeah. She's in a, but no guy in my life, and I'm even asking her this day, like, hey mom, really? I mean, really, nobody? She's like, I don't want to talk about that. Nobody. She's a tough cookie.
Yeah, I don't know whether in Mother Russia or the original. Warsaw Pact countries or the evil empire, as we got programmed to call it over here, what so-called adultery or single parents, how they were even treated. And you grew up under communist rule, did you not?
Yeah, but our communism was different than theirs. We were not under the Warsaw Pact. We were different. We were in 1948. Tito actually gave a middle finger to Stalin and said, "Fuck you, man." I mean, I'm not going to be so. Basically, since then, we were in the middle of East and West. It was very liberal communism, if I may say that. We were free to go anywhere we wanted. nobody wanted, because we had pretty much social medicine, social, uh, living, and everything else you could do private. We did have a maximum wage, which I think would be a great idea today for
Oh
many, many,
yeah,
many
yeah. I got
countries. Yeah,
that from the platform of the California Green
I
Party in
know
the
you did.
back
I
of the
remember that.
70s.
Yes,
Yeah,
maximum
yeah.
is the way to go. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I was once on that old Bill Maher show, politically, well, it was Politically Incorrect, I believe was the name of
Uh
it.
huh. Uh
And
huh.
debating a maximum wage was one of the topics of the evening to justify having me on that show. And he just could not contain his shock and disgust that anybody would even advocate for such a thing.
Yeah, man. In a second, I thought that he might be I mean, he's a smart guy, definitely, but he might be
Oh,
on
yeah.
our side. But then very soon I figure out, nah, he's the elite. Yeah.
Well, it depends on the issue. I mean, he struck me as kind of liberal libertarian, if you will. And like all
Mm,
great comedians that are political, sometimes he'll have one sentence that says as much as 10 zillion pundit columns or cable
right.
news things. For example, either right before or right after George W. Bush stole another election in 2004, he
Right.
said Republicans will do anything to win elections except get the most votes. He's the
They
one who
had
said that, and that's it in a fucking nutshell.
they haven't done it since Reagan, right? Who was the last person? Bush, that he had more votes than the Democrats. They haven't done it since ever.
Oh, well, oh, you mean who actually did have more votes
Republic.
than Democrats?
Actually, Bush, second time Bush did. Yeah.
The claim is, but Greg Palast, who's been on Renegade
Yeah.
Roundtable, who exposed how W stole Florida with the help of his brother Jeb and Secretary of
Yeah.
State Katherine Harris, and going after black people where suddenly they had felony convictions, even if they were in the
Mm-hmm.
future. You
Yep.
can't
Yep.
vote in 2000. You were convicted of a felony in 2004, and
In
they're
the
still
future.
doing that to people down there, according to Palast. It's
Right.
that sick and wicked and all. And he thought that both Florida and Ohio, which has also been independently corroborated by a muckraker there named Bob Fitrakis, that 2004 was stolen as well. Of course, we know all about the one with Trump, and Palast made a movie of his one-time book about W called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, predicting exactly what happened in
I
2016.
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because I don't think there's a mathematical probability for them to win popular vote anymore. I mean, I don't think there is. Right? How can they?
Well, if they can somehow get the public to embrace Ron DeSantis or worse and think he's cool, like they did with Reagan
Well, I mean, we're
or
screwed. If they
Schwarzenegger
win
or
once
whatever.
again, we're screwed. Everybody.
Well,
I've seen that. I've seen You guys have no idea when it starts. And you have no idea when it's already in. When the fascism, they
yeah.
don't leave.
We're going to get to that in a second, but I want to go back a little more to the creation of Gino Jevdević. You're growing up in a communist system with presumably quite the propagandized education, and it might even be worth going into a little bit who Josip Broz Tito was, because he's completely forgotten over here.
I have to say, dictators are very different animals than anybody else, and everybody is pretty much. People are very confused about whole dictatorship mantra, because they're not all equal, and they're all not all same. One thing that is very significant and mutual for all the dictators, they all come from the people. They all come from the situation that it's really fucked up, and then they use everything and get on the on a get, there are different dictators out there. There's Adolf Hitler, but there's also Tito, and there is Stalin, but there's also Guy Julius Caesar. Not all of them did all the worst for their people. I have to say, till this day, I mean, my opinion aside, because dictator's a dictator, I can't really be on a dictator's side, but Tito is still beloved by the majority of the Yugoslavian people worldwide. In Yugoslavia too, people are still wearing his.
Really?
Yeah, yes. I have to tell you, there are. You go to Sarajevo, which is kind of a different country right now. You go to Zagreb, you go to Belgrade, and there's going to be a bunch of stores with the T-shirts with his image.
I have not been to Sarajevo, but I
Oh, you
have been
should.
to Zagreb and I've been to Belgrade as well as Ljubljana, all
Hmm.
part of the former Yugoslavia, and I have neither seen anything like this in any stores, nor has a single person I met or talked to ever had a good word to say about Tito.
Really? About Tito?
Was
I'm
was he Serbian or Croatian or
Oh, he
something
was
else?
he was Croatian, but
Okay.
just the fact that the nationalist Serbs and nationalist Croatians do not like him both says that he did some things right. What he did really. I mean, I really don't want to justify all the political imprisonment and everything else, but I do want to say that the nationalism as the sickness of our people was suppressed. Is it good to suppress something? I don't know. But if that something gets out of the jail and then 3 million people die in the war, I would say that maybe right people were in jail. I mean, I would have never signed off the system that put any kind of a political prisoners. But with Tito, I can assure you that a lot of people still till this day have a positive opinion about him. I was pretty young when he died. I was 18, but I can tell you right now that nothing after. It was very progressive country at the time. The infrastructure was great.
Relative.
Right now, not so much. Maybe Croatia is getting a little better because of the European Union helping and Slovenia, but it's a pretty complex story altogether. The fact is that both fascist regimes, all the fascist regimes in Serbia, in Croatia, in Bosnia too, do not like him, but most of the people do. I of course I'm indifferent to the dictators. I'm just
Right.
objectively looking at the picture of how it is.
I mean, his reputation over here was as a less repressive communist dictator, but still a communist dictator. And the one guy who somehow magically united all these countries where people had been, shooting each other in large numbers and killing each other in wars for century after century. And somehow he prevented that. But I think even you're saying, yeah, part of the way he did that was through repression, where you are going to all be in the same country. But does this mean there was free and voluntary travel, even under Tito, between Bosnia and Croatia, or even Croatia and what is now once again Serbia?
Not just free and voluntary. We were marrying each other. We most of us are in a mixed marriages. It actually promoted, that is the good side of it. It promoted brotherhood and unity, how we called it, and really nationalism stopped with its existence. And today we can see that I thought for a while that organized religion is the biggest evil of the world. Now when I see the Pope being actually a good guy, I'm thinking nationalism is actually, the most Catholic countries in the world, like Croatia, like Poland, actually hate Pope because he's a good guy. It's amazing. I'm talking about their government, not about the people. Which is amazing. Once in a lifetime, you have a Pope as a good guy, and now you hate him.
Well, he is in some ways, and typical
of,
Pope in other ways, of
yeah, of
course.
course. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna get the progress wherever you give it, and he's definitely a progress there. So back to this. No, not just that we're traveled between each other all the time. And I mean, I was a musician. I was a recording artist there. I played every single weekend somewhere else. It's not just that. We had a passport that was widely recognized everywhere. I was in the United States when I was 14 years old, and my passport did not need a visa for United States, and we could have gone anywhere we wanted. We could have worked somewhere and come back too. So there was no repression like you can't leave. There is no, and everybody
Wow.
could come too. So there was a lot of miscommunication, actually misinformation. I remember when I was here in Fort Collins, Colorado. We were neighbors at the time, you and I. Uh, I was there, and I remember Ford and what's his name, Carter, were battling. It's the first time in my
Okay.
life, and I was there just for the ninth grade of junior high school, and 1976, right? And I remember when Ford said that Yugoslavia is not in an Eastern Bloc and lost the elections for that. And he was actually right. I mean, I was happy he lost the elections because I always liked left in my life. but that was not a wrong statement, right? he also said that Romania wasn't the Romania was, but
Oh, good
no,
God. Yeah, that's a little more blatant. I think he was
that's
a little
Hobbes, yeah.
confused about the nature of the East Germany, the
Ceausescu,
DDR.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
among other things.
yeah, but definitely, the information about Yugoslavia, what it was. First of all, most of the people here don't even, not just that they think that was a part of the Eastern Bloc, but they also think that it was a part of the Soviet Union. And education-wise, as you mentioned, I can say that we had a pretty independent education worldwide. In a way that we started with history-wise, I'm thinking we started with the with the antique history, with Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, how it relates to Roman mythology, and I mean, that actually developed my interest in the history and pretty much the world history as it is. Of course, from the socialist and the communist view, that is the right system and the capitalism is dying as it is.
Right.
But it was, you know. Can you say that it's not dying?
Well,
That's a whole nother story. But no, it wasn't the whole the way free society, but it was good while it lasted, and people loved each other, unlike today.
including people who identified Christian or Orthodox, or in the case of Bosnia, there was a significant Muslim population and
Still
still
is,
is,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. We had in Bosnia before the war, we had uh, 40% Muslim, 33% of Orthodox Christians, and about 19% of Catholics. The rest of them were, yeah, undeclared. I'm one of these undeclared. I never wanted to declare because of
Right,
course, I'm an
right.
atheist, but I also always, I always viewed, and maybe I'm not really defending the system before, and definitely not the absolutist system, but I defend the idea where you love your neighbor. I defend the idea where you don't shoot at your neighbor. I defend the idea that freedom doesn't mean you take a gun and then you shoot whoever doesn't have the name that associates you at your name.
If Tito had decided to embrace the West all the way and say we're not a communist country anymore, would the entire Yugoslavia have been treated to the same kind of invasion from Mother Russia, Mother Soviet Union that happened in Prague and happened in Hungary in, what was it, 1956? Would it have happened in Yugoslavia too if Tito had gotten too quote unquote liberal?
I think it would not. He did. Actually, in 1948 he stood up and he told Stalin, "You cannot come in." The thing is that we liberated ourselves. Red Army did not liberate Yugoslavia. Tito's partisans liberated themselves, and they also liberated North Italy too. So basically, the NATO, whatever, what later became NATO, said, "Okay, fine, we will defend you from the Russians, but you please leave Italy." So they left Italy. So they left Italy and stayed in their way of the self-governing socialism, as that was, and my free translation. However, your question is so smart, and let me and this is, I was always asking myself, why didn't he go all the way into the democracy? And I can tell you, and I never knew that. I thought about that when I was like in former Yugoslavia, and like, when he died, before he died, and this is my answer. After the war, I saw what happened, and something tells me that he was very connected with everybody on the West, as well as on the East at the beginning, but more on the West, knowing that they would jump in for him. But if he would let a plural party system in this country, that parties would divide on the national parties like they did when he died. Exactly that thing happened. National parties, and basically with us, with our country right now, with Bosnia, with Serbia, with Croatia, especially with Bosnia, because you have Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks who are Muslims, and Jewish people, especially there. There is no politics. There is no political parties. The political parties and the political system is leading to census. Everybody's voting for theirs because national parties are totally 100% diametrically opposite of the of the idea of the politics, because idea of the politics considers that you have a plan, economic, infrastructure, culture, and so on. No, you have only the national program that is giving you a cushion that they're going to fight for you against the other nationalists, which basically is evoking fear in people and making the elections pretty much a census. And that's what it is
Uh-huh.
now. And that's why I think Tito actually did not go that way. But economically he did, politically he didn't, knowing that that might evoke another war.
Did he die before the Soviet Union fell or after?
Before 1980.
Okay, so there was another strong man after him, at least one, before the whole thing became independent and then split into all these countries.
Yeah, his
Split
name was
back into all these countries.
He was also Croatian. His name was Ante Markovic, and he took the dinar and made it convertible and made it made it worthwhile. And I remember I was a recording artist, and that was my third record, I guess. And every single time I do the record, the inflation was killing it. Right? I do the record, I come to see the quarterly. It's this much money. You see, I mean, I sold 100,000 records of my second record, and I came in. It was funny. I couldn't even take people for dinner for that money. All of a sudden, I'm coming, to pick up the money, and there's money there. What happened? This guy actually made the dinar valuable. Now that wasn't good for the nationalists. He was Croatian, so the Croatians actually just stabbed him in the back. Serbs hardly waited, hit him in the face, and then they made what they made.
When we met, and you were, typically ebullient, just as full of positive vim and vigor, even though you had fled for your life out of Bosnia when the war started, and then proudly proclaimed
after the war. After the war,
okay.
I came after the war. Yeah, I couldn't.
And you proudly proclaimed to me, "I am the Peter Gabriel of Bosnia." That is what you said to me. And I'm assuming this meant Bosnia, but not also Croatia and Serbia or Slovenia or Montenegro, or were you a Yugoslavia-wide pop star?
Yeah, I was doing pop music. I was doing pop music, and that Peter Gabriel thing was not about his music. It was about, basically, I was playing pop music before, and now I decided to do the ethno just because I was missing my own home. And yeah, after the war, I moved over here. I created a musical hair during the war in Sarajevo. And then Phil Alden Robinson, the director of Field of Dreams, and John Baez actually helped me come over here. And that's how I met a lot of people who wrote another theater play that played in Seattle. Ruby Marchand of Warner Music International gave me Jack and Dino's number. Met Chris Novoselic, met you. Life went on.
We got to delve back into life before it went on here, because were you a solo artist or was it a different band?
The name of the band was Gino Banana. And just another day, I acquired a couple of the records. I have them over here with me, if you want to see them. They're right here somewhere.
Vinyl junkie librarian kid completist me someday wants to get those records and stuff.
Yeah.
Will I run fleeing from the room because it sounds like Elton John, or is it going to have some of the Gino and the culture shock we know today in the music?
You will run away from the room because it's going to sound like Elton John. It's gonna more sound like, well, the film that we were doing. It is about the changes, and it's about what happened in the war. I'm a war profiteer. I'm not Peter Gabriel. I figured out I'm not Peter Gabriel. I'm a war profiteer. I realized, and this is serious, I realized that I can die in any second, and I didn't do what I like to do. And since then, I started doing hair. It was a death metal version of the musical Hair, and you have to hear that. That you would like. That you would like. And then I realized that, I am going to sing every single song like it's my last song. Do everything that I do like it's my last thing in my life. That's later on I started like helping people with developmental disabilities, because their personification, embodiment of that, sing every song like your last song. I really never looked back. I never looked. I have to tell you, to be old and wise, you must first be young and stupid. I had this curse that I made it when I was really young as a drummer of the promising band when I was 16. Then I met all of these people. Then I made one hit, other hit. You know, you like those things when you're young, and then when the
Well,
war
but Gino
happened, yeah,
Banana, you are the singer for Gino Banana, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
not
yes.
just the drummer. If you were the
No,
drummer in
no,
that.
no. I left drumming when I was whatever 19 years old. Then I became a singer. But yeah, I started really early and met a lot of people from the industry really early. Uh, and then it made me really early a pop musician. I had to run away from. It's not just war made me realize that life is too short to waste it on anything that you don't like. And I really did not like that. I, you know, I was 30 years old already at 28. I hated what I was doing, but it was a job. And it was a very well paid job. I was selling records like crazy. It's just like, it was, not something that you leave, especially if you, in the 80s, in your 20s, right? But the
Yeah,
war came in. I'm telling you, I'm a war profiteer because in that moment, I couldn't be what I was, so I can become something else. So I ran to the end of the world, to the end of the West over here, to run away from myself and to do what I like. I was ready. I I was pretty well financially at the time because Tito made us, made us allow us to earn the money, while doing music. I lost everything in 24 hours because of the war, right? Slovenia, another democratic country, took all the money that we had. Just took it in their bank. The bank is ours, sorry,
how
money's
did
ours.
they manage to do that?
Because they're darlings of the European Union. I don't know what to tell you. I never got my money. I mean, they said that they returned it. I never got it. Fuck the money. Doesn't matter. I have never been so liberated in my entire life. I remember I thought I'm going to die. Like, oh shit, I don't have anything. And then in the morning, I woke up and thinking, I'm alive. My mom's alive. Girlfriend at the time was alive. My dog is alive. What the fuck do you want, man? People dead around you, you know? And it gave whole shit another light to my life. Absolutely. Since then, I was never the same. Absolutely. I'm just pissed off that I didn't spend it all. I don't regret
What
it
would
at
you have
all.
spent it all there? Surely not a Yugo car.
Yeah, well, better car than the tank.
Yeah, I also heard that the ones there were much better than the ones for America, or vice versa. I can't remember. I mean, there's a book about them over here called "The Worst Car Ever Made."
Okay, you got to be, you got to have the mode like this extremes, like the worst car ever made, the worst movie ever seen. I never knew what's my worst movie. I know the movies that I like, right? But did you ever think
Right.
about the worst movie? I want until I went on the plane. On the plane, you can see the worst movies ever.
Yeah.
On the plane, I was watching Rupert Everett and Madonna. She's a yoga teacher and he is her gay friend, and then they have a child. Blah. Like, the worst,
What was the
the
name
worst
of this
fuck.
charming
Oh
movie?
my God, I don't know. I can't. But I was with Roderick Romero from Sky Crash Mary on the plane, and I'm like, please, dude, you gotta watch this movie. You gotta see. I mean, you got it. There is some kind of a certain art in the bad movies. This guy, you got to, if that's something bad, you gotta see it. So yeah, maybe
Yeah,
Hugo is maybe in that category. I never drove one though.
right. No, I have a couple of rock bottom movies, and a lot of people would not agree with them either. But I thought the two worst movies I can think of that I've ever seen are Leaving Las Vegas and Chariots of Fire.
I've never seen any of them.
Well,
Leaving Las
who
Vegas, I've
knows?
heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're both highly regarded by some people, but not by me.
Oh, I wonder.
Okay, so you lost everything overnight. It sounds like it was in the middle of the war, but tell us,
beginning, beginning of the
okay,
war.
tell us how the war began and how it felt as an individual on the street living there and the signs you saw. And you say first it was the nationalist parties and stuff. Somehow it blew up into the worst thing to happen to Europe until Putin invaded Ukraine and stuff.
Yeah.
But unlike even Eugene Hutz, who was just on Renegade Roundtable, who sends you a great big Eugene size hello, yeah, there you go. He has not been caught in the middle of that war. Gogol Bordello has been in and out and played in places where it was safe to play. You were caught in the. You have actually been in a war. Not that many people I know or anybody listening to this know has ever really been in a situation like that, where it isn't just going over to Vietnam or getting sent to Korea like my father or Tim Armstrong from Rancid's father apparently was. You were surrounded. And probably living in an apartment building, right? So did different people in the apartment building join different sides, and what made them do it, and how do they get all the guns and stuff? And it's kind of a step-by-step thing to rewind here as to how the first, the rumblings of it and the winds of war, and then lo and behold,
how long do we have? How long do we have?
we have as long as we want.
Okay.
Because you've talked to me about this a lot before, and it was
mm-hmm.
it was fascinating. And so the entire Gino story that you've told Anne Marie and me and probably Vic and Chris and so many other people. Although another thing I remember from that first time in Seattle, you looked around and said, "Look, there's people there's Serbs here, there's Croats here, there's Bosnians here, and they all dance to me."
And they all, and they all fucking. And I asked them on the show, like, "What the fuck is your problem, people? I mean, you're the best friends over there. You're hitting each other. What's going on?" Yeah, this is how it happens. And it was always so. It was always so mind-blowing to me when I was talking to you guys, to Americans, when they say, "Well, tell us how it is when you come back from the war, where you go into the war and then you come back from the war." I don't know. We don't go to the war. We just sit in our own place, minding our own business, and boom, like, war happens and shit happens. And I can tell you, humans are very durable animals. You have no idea what we can go through. And also, we're very good. We think that we're bad, but then you can see how people helping each other. And then you can always also see people joining different armies, people that you would never, ever think that they do. And, you would think, "Oh, this motherfucker, he is he's going to go with fascists." And he doesn't. And the guy that you would never think goes, and I can't tell you that there are rules. My condo was on the front line in between, like one day, one army, the other. So it was pretty much destroyed, straightforward at the beginning of the war. So I went to my mom's right at the beginning of the war. That was right across the river. I mean, right there, very close, like less than 10 minutes walk. But these 10 minutes can be years in the wartime. And I spent time with her. I had a dog. How it starts, it's scary. It starts like it's not the war, and you don't know. I'm going to turn this off. Can we hear each other like this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that we were in the war for a year before we admitted to ourselves that we are in the war. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one thing. We don't want to believe. We do not want to believe that we are in the war. We want people to, we want to somehow camouflage the fact. We are hoping that everything is going to be okay. So we're trying to convince ourselves that everything is going to be fine. No, dude, it's the war and it's going to last forever. So get ready. Being without electricity and running water is hard. Being without, the media is hard, but it's not as hard as knowing that you cannot leave. At the beginning, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go. At the end, already after that, you can't, even if you want to. But you you have no idea that feeling when you realize you are really stuck over here and you're just a number in the negotiations. So it's mind blowing how much we can survive and how much we can tolerate and how much we can consider normal. There were signs now when I think about it, there were signs everywhere. They were doing people were doing paramilitary exercises in their backyards with the flags. What I can tell you right now is when you see the flag, run. Any flag, just run,
Oh, I know.
and that's any nationalism, any flag, just run because the shit's gonna hit the fan. Now, it's not all bad. And I can tell you one thing also, war profiteer, what I realized, what I found out. We were all witnessing the expiration of the civilization. Civilization was vanishing before our eyes, little by little. One day this, the other day that, third day they burned the library, little by little, this friend, that friend. It's sooner or later we're all gonna die. It's pretty much like COVID. Sooner or later we're gonna get it. I remember when something dawned to me. I remember walking from my mom's flat to the theater where I was doing hair, thinking this is the other way around civilization, because civilization wasn't always full of competition and sick ambitions of the humans as it is today. Before the guy came out of his cave and circled the cave and say, "This is my woman, this is my children, and you are my enemy, and I'm gonna attack you, and when I win over you, I'm gonna take your cave." Before the material wealth and aggression and competition kicked in, there was art. There was painting in the cave. He was first painting, and then he figured out, let me fuck up the world, the human. When it's up, I'm watching the war. In the middle of the war, it dawns to me, I am witnessing the expiration of the civilization. And it's going to go the other way around, because every single show, we had shows during the day because there was no electricity. Every single exhibit, every single painter, every single poet, every single musicians were kicking ass. It's amazing. And people were coming out before the war, like after the war, like here, you couldn't pack the theater with guns, man. People don't go to the theater. People don't like art. People like what's served for them on TV, right? That was not the case. Art bloomed. Everything bloomed. And then I figured out the civilization is going back. It is going back. It's going to come back to the paintings. Naively, I believe that after the war, if we stay alive, we can show the world how to live without money, because we didn't have anything, right? We still lived. Like, there's 3 years into the war. I'm still in Sarajevo. I still don't have shit, nothing, but we live greatly. I learned how to take the shower in this much of the water and then go, do number one, number two, and flash it with that same water. That's a skill to have. I can write a book about that. But the thing is, I really, really, really appreciate everything that I learned in the war. It's an experience that I don't want anybody to feel, and anybody to ever experience after. I mean, that's not some. But I naively also believe that we're going to save the world, showing them that material doesn't matter, and that material world as it is going to disappear, because there is a proof. Sarajevo is the proof that we can do it without it. Can you imagine how stupid I felt after it? I felt very stupid after it.
How did you get your food in this situation if you couldn't even go out and get larger amounts of water? How did you get the little small amounts of water?
There were open water hoses in the certain parts of town. where there were lines and lines and lines in the water. My friend died. She died by wading, and they were like, the idiots were throwing, shelling the lines where people were standing in line for the water. Uh, water would come once in a week, and then you would run, and then you would collect everything you have, every single dish you have, the bathtub, and that would be your water. You would boil your water, you would burn shoes, you would burn tires. They still do because they're poor. And that's how it is. That's a third world, second world. The quality of air. When they start talking to me about quality of air, like, let's first feed people and then we'll think about that. It's hard when you come from those kind of that kind of life. It is hard for you to somehow go back into the civilization, and not compare every single activity with the one with the adequate equivalent of what's going on in the war. However, once again, I remember 3 months we didn't have anything. What was the food? Usually rice. That we didn't have anything, and then somebody would bring the soy sauce. Oh my God, that was gold. I remember at the time the liter of oil was about $100. So the pack of cigarettes was like $20 or more at the time when the packs of cigarettes should be 50 cents, right? Even more than 20, $50. It was ridiculous. But that wasn't the worst thing. Again, the worst thing was that, for instance, I went in the middle of the war. I got this accreditation and went to Italy and came back with soy sauce. But I came back. Once you can get out, you get out and you see the world. But that's not your place. Your place is back home. What am I going to do in Italy? Uh, it, I remember 3 months we didn't eat anything. I was drinking oil to stay alive. And I'm not whining right now at all. It's not the worst thing that happened to me in my life. There are way worse things that when I was
You were
right.
drinking heating oil?
Yeah, drinking, cooking oil. Yeah, that was the only thing that was, yeah, to stay alive, and what can you do? Now, that's the reason I can't have French fries. Ugh. But yeah, there's a lot of PTSDs, like 4th of July. I'm never here. Like, gee, like me and my dog, we're kind of the same. we run away during the 4th of July. We just go into the woods. But
Yeah.
that's not the worst. The worst is still this helplessness. You are a number in the negotiations. You are nothing. You are nobody. Like people in Ukraine right now. Like people in Iraq. I wrote this song Mustafa about, like, only they know what I wrote about. I wrote about the shell going over your head, and it's not your mother that is going to cry because you heard it. The ones that you don't hear is the one that's going to get you. You know that, like, you don't know what to do with the
Yeah.
person with a hole in their stomach. I do. I would know exactly what to do. I did it. You take off your shirt, you put it in, and hold it until the ER comes. If they come, if not, then hope that he's not going to bleed to death. But those were all. We are all adoptable animals. We can do it. We are capable of doing it. It's the longitude on all of that. It's the psychological indifference to the world. It's a sophisticated yourself, sophisticated you that is suffering, saying, what the fuck? At some point somewhere, I was thinking about terrorism in the world. And of course, I don't justify it. I would never justify it. But I remember one moment in my life, me and my friends sitting, talking about IRA, talking about, we didn't have we didn't have Al Qaeda at that time. Uh, IRA and these buses that they were blowing and thing. Of course, I mean, when I see a fly, you can ask my wife, or a wasp or whatever. I catch it and I throw it out. I never would have killed a fly if I don't have to. But you understand, you understand this cry on look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm fucking dying. Nobody cares. You know, in Ukraine right now. I'm sick and fucking tired of people saying, why is it? Is it because Russia has rights to this? Or the Ukrainians were like this? Or Russians were like, doesn't matter. People are dying. Stop fucking shooting. Who cares what it is? Just stop fucking shooting. That's the stuff that I understand, that I don't think many people do if you're not there. The reason doesn't matter. There is no idea that it's worth one human finger, not life finger. There is nothing. There is not, like the kids that I'm playing right now for, they're 25 and older, and they ask me about, like, what can you tell us? I can't tell you anything. I can tell you only one thing. Don't listen to anybody, especially old farts like me who make wars.
Was it you recently said to me or somebody else that yes, there's war crimes, maybe even Ukrainian war crimes in addition to the Russian ones, but isn't war itself the ultimate war crime?
Yes, it was. The war itself is the war crime. Terror is a war of war is a terror of a rich man towards a poor man, and terror is a war of a poor man towards a rich man. That's how it is.
Or so it appears, depending on who's controlling the terror, too.
Who's controlling the weapons, too?
We're seeing attempts of that right now in Brazil, because Bolsonaro still hasn't conceded, and there's been hints he wants the army to help him with the January 6th because he's a junta nostalgist and whatnot, but they haven't done it so far. But that doesn't mean there aren't people starting all these fires, burning buses, truck blockades to try to get it started. And it was truck blockades in part that eventually brought down Salvador Allende, but who was behind the truck blockades? In the case of Chile, a major force in that coup, if not the major force, was Richard Nixon, Henry Kissinger, CIA, on behalf of people like ITT who didn't want their copper mines nationalized, among others. It's not always the poor committing the terror if it's agents from somebody on the other side. That's what mercenaries are.
They don't call it terror then. They don't call it terror. Of course, I mean, terror and the war are the same things. In my opinion, that's the same thing. However, if you remember, the legally elected Iranian leftist socialist president wanted to nationalize a couple of the oil findings over there, and then
BP's findings.
It was IBP. It was Iranian British Petroleum, right? And now it's BP. And if there wasn't, and then United States came in, took the guy down, put Shah Reza Pahlavi, then you had the Khomeini Islamic Revolution, and now you have Al Qaeda and ISIS. None of that would happen if United States wasn't fearful of socialism. Like, the guy was just elected. That was it. The next elections would, none of that would happen. Nobody knows that. People don't know that.
We're talking about the coup in 1954 that overthrew the democratically elected either President or Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran, and installed the Shah, who was
Reza Pahlavi, right?
Real monarch, who was a much more, even physically much larger than the Shah we put in, who always had the inferiority complex to dad. I'm going to show how much I can kick ass. And he was, of course, a very, very, very brutal dictator, much like the Saudi royal family or the Qatari or Bahraini royal family, or even the Assad. No, maybe not as reckless as Assad, but there were even rock bands allowed for people who were, had money and stuff in the Shah. But the Shah was so horrible that he eventually even lost the merchant class. And when he went down, Khomeini didn't get in right away, but it did turn into out with the old dictator, in with the new dictator. They were trying to do a democratic something or other. Abul Hassan Bani Sadr, who was briefly, I think, the head of the place or whatnot. And then the students seize the embassy and hold the American embassy and hold people hostage with the idea of doing it for the few days to prove a point and then leaving. But Khomeini saw that as his chance to get rid of democracy too,
Yeah,
and take
yeah.
over the place and make it a fundamentalist utopia that
And that's what
Ron
religious
DeSantis
right
really
do.
dream of. What's
That's
that?
what that is exactly what religious right does. They're sitting there and they're waiting for their chance. The religious right, and they will use everything. They use the Arab Spring was not at the beginning, was really it was civilized demonstrations against for human rights. It was just hijacked by all of these all of
Right.
these clerical, religious right, and that right now that's the same thing. It is humans are very prone to believing conspiracy theories. Look at January 6th.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that stuff. It's
Right.
and the target audience is always less educated, the ones that are forgotten, the ones that they're that would like time machine. That you can sell them time machine. If I get elected,
Right.
I got a time machine. That's what it is. That's what Trump did. He sold them time machine.
To a time that only looks like it sort of did on a few select television shows,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
Oh, look, there's Gino Banana. All right.
My friend Saad, who is director of Al Jazeera in Sarajevo, found one on the flea market. He said, "Hey, look what I found! I buy because I didn't have it."
Right, right. Yeah. On break, Gino was actually flashing the actual album covers of 3 Gino Banana, presumably albums, right?
Yeah,
Were
albums,
they on the Yugatone label or one of the other ones?
discotone label.
Oh,
There
right, yeah,
was
because government labels and all that.
Well, not so much. It started like Tito differentiates that. Like he started as a government thing and then kind of outsourced it to the companies.
Right.
He really desperately tried to invent something else, knowing our weakness of nationalism, because it's not easy when you have kids who are fighting between themselves, right? And I'm really
Yeah.
sounding like somebody who's defending a dictator, but I'm not. And I definitely judge him for a lot of forced things that was done. But at least my people weren't shooting each other, which kind of was
Right.
perfect.
I didn't realize till later why there were different labels when I'd ask somebody in Croatia or Slovenia about a band that turned out to be Serb after the war or something,
Hmm.
and I've never heard of them. I'm not going to talk about them,
Hmm.
and vice versa. In Belgrade, where I felt by far the most nationalist fever, and even in my own audience, and
In
friendly guy
Belgrade,
backstage
yeah.
talked about his art, and then he said, and this was several years ago now. Now that there's going to be another war soon, I can just feel it. I can just feel it. I mean, the Croats killed my grandfather. I can never forget that. And it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, were you still making pop recordings during the war,
No.
or did all that stop?
No, my third record was I was actually my first record. I'm taking that back when I said that you're gonna hate my records. No, you're gonna like my first record. My second record you're gonna hate because I accidentally made a hit, and then it totally turned. And then the record label jumped like greedy, saying, one more like that, one more like that. So I made
Yeah.
another one like that. You know how if you
I never had to worry about that. None of those labels wanted anything to do with me, nor me with them, to
you
put
know
it mildly.
And I thought that I'm a lucky kid, but then I remember like 1989, and I'm doing this third album, fourth album, I don't even know, third album. And I'm thinking like, shit, my friends that are having garage bands, I would trade everything I have in my life to have a garage band. But I can't do it right now. Even if I do, nobody's going to fucking believe me. Who's going to believe me? They're going to boycott me because and then the war happened and I really used it. I used it. I came over here. I remember losing the money was one revelation, one liberation, and the other one I remember coming to Seattle after Ruby Marchand introduced me to Jack, and I stood. The Crocodile Cafe that later on we played and sold out, and Chris and I played together, and it was amazing. But the first time I came in, I stood in line, and they were kind of touching you to see if you have weed or alcohol or anything. And I'm thinking,
Right.
I've never experienced this in my life. I recorded my first record when I was 16 years old. I've never stood in line for the club in my life, and I felt an amazing liberation that I'm finally a normal human being. Now I can go and get the fight in my early 30s. I was 32. I can make a garage band right now and play what the fuck I want to play, and I did, and it's a great feeling.
Well, okay, so this means you were aware of many other maybe cooler things going on in music, even in Sarajevo,
Yes,
while you were in Gino Banana, and it's not as
yes.
though you were not aware of a punk scene or other kinds of. You did know all that stuff then.
Yes, I did, and I was
Did you?
friends with all of these people, and still am. With SCH, with all of these guys, I was still friends with them, and they really were good friends of mine. They knew me. They knew how much am I separating in myself. And now today, when I come back, the kids don't know this story. My generation, like, what the fuck happened with him? He went crazy. No, I just became myself. They know it. They remember that, and they remember, like, I remember when you were telling me I'm going to leave all of this shit, I'm going to go somewhere and start all over again. Because, yeah, I remember that. Like, it is hard. Again, to be old and wise, you must first be young and stupid. You gotta change is not a bad thing. You gotta admit to yourself, I was wrong. Let me start again. It's okay. I didn't kill anybody, right?
So another thing when you had to do all these things, including standing in line for water, knowing you might get killed at any
Yeah.
moment, at least once a week, if not once a day, that can do things to your nerves, of course. And somehow you get used to it to the degree that anybody can, or somehow you cope and you don't all have collective nervous breakdowns. I mean, how were you able to hang on and not just complete? I mean, there must have been a fair number of suicides as well as war deaths, or were there?
No, suicides are later coming. I actually just wrote a song, and I'm going to do it with Edo, Maika, this hip hop artist together. It's a, it's a folk song with oud, the Middle Eastern instrument, and me singing. And I want to have
Mhm.
a hip hop on that about suicide after the war. That's what happened later on. During the war, you don't have time, dude. You have no time. You got no time to think about anything but survival. It is not like you don't do, you survive. It's a different, we are different. We're all different. You and I are different. We don't know. I remember when Chris and you and Kim played. I was supposed to be playing drums with you for the WTO. I went to see my
Oh,
mom.
really?
Yes, I went to
Ah,
see Gina
I
played
never
it,
knew
but I
that.
was supposed to play drums there. And I remember that, and I'm like, what would I? How would I? How would I react in a different country like that? I'm thinking. So a little bit how that is, but I can tell you that when the shit hits the fan, it's different. I mean, I really didn't care. I was just hoping that if it's gonna hit me in the head, so I don't lose my legs, I don't lose my arms, I don't like have to crawl and look myself bleed out. That was, and I was hoping that I'm gonna die, not my mom or this kind of things. But it's kind of you're taking it pretty normal. My friend who played with me in I don't want to out him right now which one, but we played in we played in here. He was afraid. I remember the theater is an amphitheater, and there was no way that shell's gonna come. Anyway, he was afraid. The moment we finished the last tone, boom, he would be in the shelter right away. People don't understand that. We're all different. I remember this one of these singers from here, like, oh well, what's wrong with him? If it happens to him, it's going to happen to me too. And I'm trying to explain that we're all different. And the keyboard player is a very funny guy. He's like, dude, let me explain you something. There are people that are men, women, but there are also a transgender people. He's trying to explain to him from the beginning, how different we all are. And, that is how different we are if the shit hits the fan. But we are not different in a way that we're going to go and jeopardize our own life, right? We're different in the way how to juggle that fear. We all are afraid, but how are we juggling the fear? Are you running home and laying down under the bed, or you running in between the bullets, or you just can't? I mean, for instance, I could not stand being inside of the home. I felt like a shooting duck. I'm sitting over here and somebody's looking at me and somebody's gonna shoot me. I better run. I better be a moving target. Fuck it. After the war, however, the cancer time came in and the suicide time came in. People were just going like flies. I know dozens of my friends who took their own life. And I'm just writing a song about it. It's going to be on our new record, number 12, Culture Shock. We talked about this. Maybe we will work together on it.
That's tentative and a hope and plan.
Yes, we would like that too. I'm so happy with this song. It gives you, it's a song about the snake that surrounded my hometown and suffocating it. None of my songs is explicitly talking about, straightforward. It's very ambiguous, but everybody knows what it is about. And I remember Edo the other day. I sent it to him, to this Edo Maika. You're gonna love this guy. He's from Bosnia, living in Zagreb with a woman from Tel Aviv, Jewish woman. Two of them, him Muslim and her Jewish, were living in Tel Aviv for years. His best friend is the guy that I'm writing about, and he's going to be a guest on it, and we're talking about it. If I'm listening to the demo, he listens to the demo. We were just recording a demo at our rehearsal space, at our rehearsal studio, and he's like, "Oh my fucking god! I don't believe I can do it live. Just listening about it makes me cry. That's going to be a challenge." That is the biggest thing about the war. It happens and you think it's over. No, it just started. PTSD is real. PTSD is later on, when I started doing. I have a law degree, but then later on I really started getting very interested in psychology. PTSD is about shame, and shame is the worst feeling that the human can be exposed to. If you're exposed to shame, there are only two reactions that the humans can manifest. One is to kill yourself, and the other one is to kill somebody else.
I'm not sure I see it as that black and white or cut and dry, but how do you closely link PTSD, especially from a war and shelling and killing right in front of you, to shame? Why is that memory and those flashbacks automatically a source or type of shame?
Simply, you don't want to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. It exposes you. It exposes who you are. It exposes your fears. Fears you do not want. Fears exposed. It is nothing premeditated. It's nothing that you know about. It's interconnected. It's about vulnerability. It's hard to be exposed, and you are exposed when you're a target. PTSD can be, different. There are different PTSD. PTSD from the molestation, PTSD from abuse, PTSD, but everything is basically abuse. This is, the abuse of an abused woman with a PTSD from an idiot husband who's beating her all her life. That PTSD is as valuable as a PTSD of a person who spent 3 years in the basement. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everything is different. You know, the everything, it manifests differently. Hypervigilance, hypervigilant trigger. That means if I'm molested by the guy who had mustache, every single time I see somebody with mustache, might be my trigger.
Yeah.
Example, right? The triggers are different. Everything is different, but the result is the same. You just want to end it because it's hard to live.
Billy Gould, of course, picked you up initially a Culture Shock for the Cool Arrow label.
Thanks to you.
I told him about the band, and then he got you, but that's all right. Here we are. Good stuff came out all those years. Thank you, Bill. Bill also told me a little bit later when I was starting to go over those places myself that part of the reason it's really hard to go in and out and play in Bosnia, at least at that time, was it wasn't just still serious poverty from left over from the war, and thus booking agents in other parts of Europe don't see enough money to send you there. But the other one that he told me, at least at that time, was that there was so much PTSD and so many people were kind of cracked after that war that the EU was not letting anybody with a Bosnian passport come in to visit, or they were afraid they would come to visit and not leave, basically, and bring PTSD and major mental difficulties and illness with them. Therefore, no Bosnians can come into the EU.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I really want
Is that still true or not?
No, not anymore. A lot of years passed, and a lot of shit in the world happened. So the new shit is replacing the old one. Yes, at the time they were really afraid because this PTSD is a real thing. I want to thank Billy this every other way. Not just to introduce me to this, you to introduce me to Billy, not just to introduce us to the world, and pretty much that's why we're back. For 26 years we're working, but also to understand my country for what it is, to understand our people for who they are. We didn't want anything else but to be a part of the world. We just want to be a part of the world, and we almost were part of the world from 1945 till 1991. Almost were the part of the world. We were the part of the world. All of a sudden, it's not like we were in the Eastern Bloc, not like we were, in the country where we couldn't travel, where we were surveilled or anything. Like, we couldn't go. We couldn't go anywhere. So basically, we knew what we were missing. Now, all of a sudden, I remember, we were accepting Czech people that were running through our country and going to the West. We were helping them. All of a sudden, we are the ogres. We are the unwanted ones. We even from Slovenians, we are the ones that nobody. That I remember, my friend died on the border between Slovenia and Austria. He took his own life in the bathroom because Slovenians took his money and in order to get him to Austria, and Austrians didn't want to take him in, and he was stuck in between in the bathroom, and he took his life. So I'm sorry. We just want to be like everybody else. And so do Ukrainians right now. That's my segue from crying.
I'm sorry, but
we just
you for
want to
being able to talk about
no,
it.
it's no. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this stuff. We need to talk about this. We need to. It's not just you kill somebody. It's generations and generations that are fucked over because of this thing. It is. That's why our audience is 25 years old right now in Balkans. And that's not Eastern Europe, that's a South Europe. They understand what I'm talking about. They understand when I tell them, don't fucking dare to take the gun. Don't ever fucking take for anybody. No, nobody. Don't even listen to me what I'm saying. I'm a so crazy old man too. Like, don't do that. Kids there are smart. Grown-ups here are smarter than the kids. Kids here are into phones and stuff. Over there, the grown-ups are in the phones and whatever this consumer madness is. The kids are not. I have
Really?
The kids are not. At least the kids that I'm in touch with. I'm so believer in them. Same. Belgrade, Zagreb. We played Belgrade. No, I remember we played Zagreb and then two towns in Bosnia. This time I didn't want to play Sarajevo. And they, my hometown, like, yeah, no, I want to play little cities. They deserve to have us too, right? We played two little cities instead of Sarajevo. And then we went to Belgrade. The same. The audience is the same. They even look alike. They react the same. They talk the same. They have the same ideas. They know each other. They travel to each other countries right now. They're smarter than we are. We need to learn from them. They're everything that alternative tentacles. I can't wait to show them how much more quality music is there in the world and how much. Honestly, that's the audience forever. Those are the people that are going to save live music. I thought that we are done before the COVID. I thought this is it. I'm the last Mohican. That's it. But no, we can do it. With these kids, we can do it.
What is Sarajevo like now?
Better. My friend is a mayor. It is under. It's hard to maintain it, but there's a left option that is in charge right now in Sarajevo.
And when you say hard to maintain, are you mean hard to get people to get along with each other, or just or the hardness is
Economical.
perhaps tell me if I'm wrong, when you see all the destroyed apartment buildings and entire bombed out cities thanks to Vlad the Second Impaler and what he's doing to Ukraine, it makes me think Sarajevo got it really bad too.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it has been rebuilt? Is there still large areas that are still in ruins or not?
They repaired the center of a city for everybody to see it, right? Here's the center of a city, and then you move and you see the holes in the walls, and it's hard to repair everything. I would really be very happy if they would invest a little more money to that than and in the roads than into making the religious objects. That would really make me happy. And I told them that. And amazingly so, they publish it. Every single crazy stuff that I say, they publish it. That's the respect that I never thought that I'm going to get there. So just the fact that my insanity got published over there tells me that things are going better. I had a great interview the other day with this, and I don't want to say I had. There was a great kid that interviewed me the other day with such a smart questions. We spoke like this for 3 hours, and all of that is on Prometheus site, Prometheus, and we talked about. And the other day, this political observer and commentator actually took a part of that interview and made whole another view on my idea. We have a problem over there that we don't know what the politics is. Maybe I'm going to repeat myself again, but we think that the politics is to have a political party and that's it. No, that political party needs to have a plan and to have economical and infrastructural and cultural plan, right? Economy, infrastructure, culture. That's what makes a political party. not a love towards your people and your church or the mosque or God that you believe in and nobody else does. That's not the political agenda. And that's what is political agenda over there. And that's what I told them. And they asked me, who would you join politically? Would I run and shit? I wouldn't run ever, because I would never run for anything. I want to be free, man, in my life. I'm going to be, but what I would support? I would support one political party in three entities: Bosniak, meaning Muslim entity; Serbian, meaning Orthodox; and Croatian, meaning Catholic entity. In the same entity that does not talk about history, who killed who. I know there's a lot of people that got killed by a lot of people from the other sides, and that cannot be forgotten. That cannot be forgiven. That cannot be anything. But what can? We do not have to remember it in every single fucking political speech and spread the hate all around. What we can do, I want a political party that is going to focus on unity and only have three. One of them would be infrastructure, culture, and economy. Those three agendas. If you talk about that, I would join you just because I want. I don't think that I'm going to like your economy. I don't know if I'm going to like your economy or your infrastructure, your culture, but at least it's going to be a progress towards talking about real issues rather than talking about who did what to who. That is the problem in Bosnia. History is our problem. History is our problem. It's the problem of the right wing right now too. Their time machine thing. Like, they think that, here in that's pretty much a parallel with this thing in United States, where they think that unequal privilege status that somebody had 50 years ago, they consider it their right. It's not a right. It was the bad time in history that people like you were profiting. That's all.
Yeah, a lot of this also would be a beautiful thing if it could ever be applied to Israel.
Yeah.
Or Israel or Greater Palestine, however you want to call it. And even I'll be amazed if this happens in our lifetime, a one-state solution instead of a two-state solution.
It would be great, and again, it's about tolerance. It's about you believing. It's about political parties that are not going to favor one nation over the other, one religion over the other. That I want to believe. I am a Yugo nostalgic kind of a guy. I liked Yugoslavia because nobody was killing anybody, and honestly, I'll tell you a joke. Um, honestly, they asked the old woman, what was you lived through all of these ages. What was your favorite time? And she said, well, I guess Turkish Empire, Ottoman Empire was the best. Why? What do you mean? I mean, they were kind of cutting people's heads, putting people on the sticks, whatever. They're burning people alive. Well, then I was 16. She said, I was 16 only then, So yes, I was 16 during that time. That's why I'm Yugo nostalgic. But I am not blind, and I see right now the bad sides. However, the good side was, if there was any sides, the good side was that at the time we tried to put our differences aside, and it was forbidden to say who did to whom during the World War II, because it would provoke nothing but the hate from the other. Hate speech was forbidden. It's I still am very conflicted deep down. An anarchist in me, the person in my mom figured that I'm an anarchist when I was 9 years old. And she told me that, and I told her I'm not. And then later on, like, shit, mom's right. I am an anarchist. Like, anarchist in me wants to have everything free for everything, everybody, and no authorities, not. I'm talking Bakunin. I'm not talking breaking the windows, and these kids needs to shut the fuck up and stop prostituting our name. But what I don't somehow believe that we can go further if we don't, if we look behind our back and into the history, what happened before, because so many bad things happen. I mean, how I'm looking at Ukraine right now, and what the Russians did to them. It's what Putin did to them. It's not Russians. I have my friends from Alexander Cheparuchin, the kids from Pussy Riot. They all, if they're there, they would be in jail. I know so many people that are in jail, and they're balls. They're humongous guts over there to go out on the street and protest, and you know that you're gonna end up in gulag. You know, so Russian people are not the enemies of Ukrainian people. The Putin and his oligarchs are. And uh, nationalism as it is needs to cease to the humans. It's just, I don't think we can go much further if the history keeps being shoved into our faces what happened in the past.
Yeah. So aside from that, just on an emotional, personal survival level, like you detail what you went through just trying to stay alive and the worst of the times in Sarajevo, what advice do you have for the Ukrainians who are getting hit?
Once
The
again,
people still there in the areas that are getting hit, and Eugene said a lot of Ukraine is not getting hit at all, and life is normal. But obviously, it is not normal for people. And then, of course, other people got out and now they're refugees, but still are carrying various amounts of heartbreak and grief and PTSD with them as well. Can you think of anything you could say to them?
yes, but I kind of don't want to, because I'm going to sound like my friends from Belgrade telling me to stay strong. I'm not in Russia right now, and I remember when it happens, and they weren't ones shooting at us, but they told me, "Oh yeah, well, you gotta stay strong. Like it's easier for you fucking to stay strong. I getting shot at, you know." So that's why I'm really uneasy about giving any advice, except take care of yourself, run between the bullets, move the target, uh, collect the water, learn how to do all of that stuff, stay clean and true to yourself, physically and psychologically. It was a matter of honor. I can bet you in Kiev right now, without electricity, running water, and food, they all look beautiful and clean. And at that, it's a matter of honor to do that with this much of the water. Develop your art. It's a good time to, it's not about what you should do. It's what you can do. You can only create in those circumstances. This is the moment to create. And that was the moment for me to create. The best shit that I made then. The best decisions that I made then. If there was no war, I wouldn't be here right now. If there was no war, I wouldn't change my mind. Who knows what would become from me? What would I be? I wouldn't be this person, definitely. So there is you don't know what's good for what. That's the only thing that I can say. What I sometimes would like to say, I'm not going to say, oh my God, I'm so ambiguous, but I'm trying to be careful, because preaching to the people that are in such a horrible condition, I know how it is. And don't fucking preach to me. Come over here. And I would love to come over there, and I would love to help if I can, however I can. I tried. We tried. Culture Shock tried. We couldn't succeed. I might go with Eugene next time. What I would like to tell them, what I did, what I'm the most proud of, is that I swore to myself, and not telling anything to anybody, but I swore to myself that other people's nationalism is not going to make me a nationalist. Other people's bigotry is not going to make me a bigot. The other people's fascism is not going to make me a fascist. I am not going to become them. And I didn't. And I'm not, I understand the pain. And I understand, like, the same thing, if you remember, I said, like, I do not agree with a lot of things, but I understand terrorism, this and that, like, whatever. I don't understand, I don't agree with hate and nationalism, but I understand if you're exposed to one, to become one. Just try not to. you're going to be proud of yourself later on. It's hard. That is the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing. That's still the hardest thing for me when I see somebody behaving and being the worst thing that I can imagine. Cannot make me close to that person, and it's so easy. Dude, hate is so infectious. Hate is so it's so contagious. It's the most horrible thing in the universe, and I think it's like heroin. It has a life of its own. It spreads.
Oh yeah. But then there's also fighting prejudice, or what some people would call bigotry, where yes, some friends of mine and some favorite musician types and whatnot have gone all in for Trump, and
Yeah,
I know what, two or three people who even went to January 6th and were all in on it. And it's hard to then peel that back away and see them the same way I did before without any prejudice that, this kind of in some ways burns a bridge.
I know who you're talking about, and it totally does. I can't say you're wrong. I would love to say that you're wrong. They'll still be my friends. Oh my God, are they? I don't know, man. You know, until you dirty your own hands, I guess you can still be my friend. When you dirty your, I mean, I know different people. I've been on this earth for a long time. I know people that most of the humans would not be friends with, and I'm still friends with. I grew up with those guys. I did not, I grew up in the hood. I know my friends, and I'm still friends with them. I'm trying, there are family members that are very much right, but not really doing it, just thinking about it and talking about it. It's one thing if we start looking at each other through the guns, through the, how do you call it in English language, that thing?
This rifle scopes.
Yeah, through the scope. That would be hard. But I know friends back home that were looking at each other through the scopes and still are friends today. It's possible.
Well, speaking of the guns, how did they all make their way in?
Oh, we got them. Oh, we got them.
How did people get a hold of them?
Okay, funny you say that because you were the one dissing Yugo the other day. That was the real industry. Yugo was just a cover-up, dude. Zastava made guns. That's the main thing about Zastava. That's the main income. At some point, Tito was selling guns to Iraq and Iran during their war. The same distributor. I mean, we had guns. We had a lot of guns. And the immigration from World War II, you have to understand, for 1945 was only maybe 40 years before this shit started. It's not a long time, right? And all of these fascists that ran away to Argentina, United States, Canada, Australia, are still alive on both sides, on Croatian side and on Serbian side. And the moment Tito died, they moved back in with their money and their guns and everything. I mean, you have to understand that none of these governments was fascist free. None of those guys. It's always them. It's always right. It's always right wingers from battling the other right wingers over our back. There was no left wing in the war, in the war in Balkans.
And didn't you get attacked by Croatia when Franjo Tuđman, or however you say his name, was running? Didn't he attack before Milosevic or not?
Yeah, well, I can't tell you exactly the timing of the attacks, but I do know my friends in Herzegovina that were just kind of with them together, and then all of a sudden these guys put them in the concentration camps. Croats put Bosniaks into concentration camps, supposedly on the same side, and nobody's clean there. Nobody's clear.
Great.
I don't want. I don't want to go into the details there. Nobody's clean there.
Well, you also mentioned Herzegovina for the first time, and I've
Yeah.
sometimes heard the whole country referred to as Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah, which is it's a
What is
geographic.
the difference? What are they?
It's a geographic. They're not Herzegovinians. There's no. They're just a geographical term. It's like East Washington, West Washington, basically. But even East Washington, West Washington is more political term because East Washington is more conservative and West Washington, Seattle is more, more liberal. But
Right.
no, this is just the Herzegovina. It's a geographical term. It's just this part is called Bosnia. This part is called Herzegovina. Together is Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's confusing. It is confusing because we have three nationalities in one country. It's actually three religions, but we identify nationalities with religions, which
Right.
I can't explain right now. What's my nationality? Bosnian. But over there, it's not. Over there, I have to be this one, second or a third. And I'm neither. I don't care. I was Yugoslavian at the time because Bosnia was too small for me. You know, that's why when somebody asked me where I'm from, I'm saying from Sarajevo. Hopefully, the name of that city is never going to change.
Yeah, there's a TV show here called Mysteries of the Abandoned, where they
Oh,
look
I've
at
seen
different.
it. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, so have you seen the one where the bobsled run in Sarajevo is the abandoned structure?
No, no.
Yeah,
Oh no.
congratulations. You've made Mysteries of the Abandoned.
No, but I was just there doing the same movie that we were doing together with you. I was there with this film, and every year somebody dies there because people are drunk and they want to go down the bobsled on the whatever on
Yeah,
some
it
on
looks
something.
looks pretty broken to me. They'd fall through some holes.
Yeah, explain that to the drunk people in Sarajevo.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. What didn't happen often, but in the 19th century, maybe even into the 20th, when they were logging parts of the mountains in Sierra to get the lumber down to the tributaries of the Sacramento River, whatever, they had what was called flumes,
Whoa!
which is basically like smaller with a little bit of water in it to make it slick. But it was like a water slide for logs. And those logs would get going at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour down those things. Always fantasized riding one, but I'm not sure I would have survived.
I was a physical guy before I played basketball and stuff, and I really like physical, But nowadays, dude, I mean, how's your back? Mine is hurting like hell. It's horrible.
Well, I had it worked on today before I got over here. Overall, it's pretty good. The last Guantanamo School of Medicine tour, maybe the last two in Europe, it turned out our tour manager was a hockey player as well. And his brother, maybe older, maybe younger, they were both hockey players and they were off a farm. So they're already strong as bulls. And then they would work on each other's backs and bodies after hockey
Mhm.
practice. And the brother went professional in a German league. So he knew how to work on backs. And he wound up doing me every single night after the shows.
Mhm.
And may I still probably would have been able to do it without, but what would have happened, what might have torn or been strained and hurt like nothing before in my life, I don't know. Although I hate to complain in a way because I have never been wounded when people tried to destroy my home or anything.
Oh my
So
god! Yeah.
it was a very easy time. When you were stuck there, how much did you even go out and travel to different places, or did you mainly stay and hide at home?
No, no, no. We were not. So this started on. Oh my god! It started in March 2092 in Sarajevo. Croatian War was already on. And April 2nd, I remember the bridge closed. I went to see my mom in the morning and couldn't go back. So if I if I drinked a little bit that night and woke up at 3 p.m., I probably would have stayed on the other side and no nothing. You and I wouldn't know each other because I wouldn't go over there. I wouldn't make.
This is a bridge across a river, right?
Yeah, and it's not really. There's a bridge, and that bridge, the river goes like the river goes north, no, east west, and the bridge was north south, but that bridge was a border between occupied territory by the Serbs and Sarajevo territory at
Ooh.
that time. However, on
Oh, yeah.
April 6th, I realized that I should go home to get some food, and I also had some weed there. And I went through, but then I couldn't come back. And
Ah.
but then I went and they started shooting at me, and then I ran, and then I came back with a bunch of
Right.
flour, no weed though. I figured out that was stupid. I left weed on there, but uh, I I have to tell you, if I didn't die that I could have died that day, and I could have died many days after that. But that was the day that I remember as being stupid, and that I shouldn't do something like that anymore, ever.
You told me when we first met that when you first finally went back to Sarajevo, presumably after the war, not towards the end of the war, you went back to your old apartment and everything was gone except a gold record on your wall from one of your pop hits. And that was the only thing left.
It wasn't on the wall. Now it's on the wall, and it's all kind of twisted because my neighbor found it in the trash.
Ah,
Yeah, they found my gold record in the trash, and then I picked it up from her, and it's still kind of twisted like that, standing as a symbol. Yeah, everything was gone. Everything was gone. Some furniture was there that I don't. Yeah, wasn't mine. People were changing and switching, and they were probably refugees too. But more than
yeah.
likely, these armies were switching and changing. Of course, money and everything. There was no money. I mean, I don't understand. I really don't understand when you get. How can you get into somebody's home? How do you get into somebody's home? How that invasion of privacy? But you know me well. You know me very well now. We're friends. I don't care about privacy. I don't. Whatever I have, you can have. I don't care about that. But don't come into my home, without me inviting you. It is. It is something. I still till this moment I cannot. I cannot put my mind to comprehend what kind of people get into other people's homes. God forbid, kill somebody, but just get in. You go inside, and this, it's horrible.
Constant battles, as you know, in
Hmm.
Israel/Palestine, where settlers just come and forcibly remove people from their homes, some
And
of
put
whom have
yeah, and put some
families
other
lived there
people in
for
that
generations.
home. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
or
I
themselves.
yeah I If you're that person who I okay, you need home, so you go into somebody else's home, but it's somebody's history. It's not. It's like my paintings, you know, uh, my pictures. I have nothing, dude. I got no pictures from my youth. I have nothing. They were like burning. First thing they do, they burn all the photos and all the pictures from your youth. You burning somebody's history. It is burning of the history is the first fascist move
Oh yeah.
ever. That's like you burn the proof of somebody's existence. You changing the things. You changing the history. That is the first proof of the fascism.
Well, that was part of Dick Cheney and Clown Prince W and
Hmm.
Ronald Rumsfeld and the rest when they went into Iraq. They had no problem with people just coming in and looting the National Museum of all kinds of priceless artifacts, some of them thousands of years old. And it was a deliberate attempt to destroy an entire people's culture and replace it with, I don't know, make them all, little plantation slaves. And the rest of their friends came in to make it what they originally were hoping was going to be
Yeah,
the first totally privatized country.
yeah,
Didn't work
yeah.
out so well.
You know what I'm thinking right now? What I'm thinking right now when you just said that is the mindset of the people that are in the town once the new army comes in. So I'm there minding my own business, new armies coming in. And then I'm thinking what ISIS used to do. You know what they do? What's their principle? How they attack the city? So let's say that they conquer the city coming in. Everybody's scared. If you know you're sitting at home, first thing they do, they cut the tongues and heads and eyes of the people that fought against them, to posterize them, make an example of them. This is how all our enemies are going to end up. Fear, right? Right after that, there's another team coming in with supplies, with bread, with food, giving it to the people that are remained over there. Now, what's going on in the head of the person who's looking all of that through his window? I was always thinking about that, and I found an explanation over there. What's going on in the head of a person who's watching all of that through the window, and now is getting finally, this, let's say Assad, usually it comes in the circumstances where you already have an idiot who didn't let you eat or drink or anything, right? And now you're having bread. This is going in his head. I really don't agree with this. I don't agree with what they did with my neighbors. Oh my God, they're animals. They're horrible. But me personally, I'm better now. That, me personally, is a foundation of every single absolutistic system. That me personally is the cancer. That me personally is everything worse, like this single-minded look into how that reflects you. You're nothing by yourself. You're nobody by yourself. Everything you have, somebody else helped you. And it's just it's mind blowing how every absolutistic system does the same thing. And all of a sudden, Germany, all of a sudden, Hitler didn't have 20%, 10%, whatever, 30%, 40%. In a year, everybody's doing it. And that's how it is. It's about me personally. It's about selfishness. It's about your own perception of what's good for you. That's the foundation of every single absolutistic system, in my opinion.
But meanwhile, culture shock grows out of almost a nice little ethnic folk dancing thing in a little boathouse. And then the next thing I know, here's the band. And the next thing I know, you're playing a long-time venue still with us called the Bottom of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
That's 200 or 300 capacity. And who's going to come see this now? And not only is the band way more fiery and, punked out, metaled out, and many, many other things, violin and whatnot, the place was packed. And it was mostly other people from the former Yugoslavia or people who were related to them over here who found out about you through those networks instead of indie rock networks.
All together, right? All together.
Yeah.
No hate between them. That's just, and
that's all because he's such a magic genius on stage, right?
no, it's all
Star
because
power.
it's the truth. The truth is that we are not nothing alone. We gotta be. I mean, we are who we are because of our our enmeshed culture. We have an enmeshed culture. Balkan culture is enmeshed from Slovenia, Croatia, through Serbia and Bosnia, Ottoman Empire, Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria. It's all same shit. You can hear same songs with the different lyrics on slightly different languages, same time signatures. It's about
Well, that's
it's about the
key.
south of Europe. It's about south of Europe.
And the Middle East when it comes to a lot of the music.
Yes.
I asked Eugene and other people this about how much of the different, I guess they're Slavic languages or are they not, how much can people understand each other? I mean, I'm assuming in the former Yugoslavia with the different what are now independent nations, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But of course, if you go to Serbia, yeah, we speak Serbian. You go to Croatia, oh, we speak Croatian. And in Bosnia, you say what? You speak
Bosnian. Yeah. I mean, why not?
Slovenian.
Why not? Why
Right,
if Serbs
right.
can cross their own language, why wouldn't we have our own? Honestly, it's
But
bullshit. It's the same
how
fucking language. It's the same language. It's bullshit.
right?
Yeah.
But how easily can you understand a Polish speaker
Pretty easy.
or a Latvian speaker or a Bulgarian speaker or
Latvian,
Romanian?
Latvian probably less easy. Latvian, Estonian, Lithuanian less easy. I think that their origin of their language is way different than Slavic one. Russian, Czech, Polish, Bulgarian, totally, because Bulgarian is very similar to Macedonian. Macedonian, I was there for a year, and I know I almost speak it. Turkish, we have so many same words with Turks too. Greeks, not so much. But the mentality is there is the same, and I would say that and when you talk to Eugene about that, he's gonna tell you too. Language doesn't matter. We do 14 different languages, I think, so far on our records.
Wow.
Because every song has its own language. Every song is, if you try to translate something that it's supposed to be, let's say in Hebrew, like Ofra Haza, Il Alu, into the English, she did it. Sucks. Same with German. 99 Luftballon. Sucks. In the original.
Right.
Every song is
Right.
original. And that's, I really, and the thing with us is that we play metal when we want to show our rage against the machine, right? We play punk rock when we want to show our political views. And when we're sad and when we're emotional, we call that sevda in Bosnia. And we do that. I don't think too much.
When you're happy, when you're feeling festive.
It depends. Amazingly so. Maybe Culture Shock songs sound happy, but mostly they're not. Mostly they are not. Mostly they are about the things that is surrounding us, and better than I do that. Not very many good things are surrounding us.
Oh, many good things when you look beyond what people try to impose on us. I keep telling people and was having to tell people they thought Trump was going to get in again. I mean, there's music, there's making love, there's the great outdoors and the open road, which you can get in America much more than you can in Europe. They will still be there.
Yes, absolutely, and love and everything else. Yes, but it's just that you're overwhelmed. I can't do anything. I can't sit down anymore. I used to be able to sit down and make an album. Now I'm making it as it comes, and it comes from from somewhere. And language doesn't.
How many languages do you know?
Well, if you count Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, that's three. But it's bullshit. It's one language. I do speak Macedonian, Bulgarian. I can communicate. I can communicate in Italian, English. I hope I'm good enough.
Very much so.
Yeah, I used to have a girlfriend in Barcelona, so I had to speak Spanish because they don't like any other language. Actually, not even Catalan. I manage. I think I can manage anywhere. I cannot say that
I like Greek.
No, but I can sing in Greek. We have Eleni Govetas, our violin player. She's 26 years old. She's as old as Culture Shock. Yeah, I'm a very good friend with her father. And I'm writing this new opera theater play, The Light, that it's about anti-Greece and it starts there. Prometheus and Zeus, their fight over Nikola Tesla. Yeah. Anyway. yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So and I needed Greek, and I didn't know a word, and so Christos, her father, and we sit down. He's my age. We sit down and he explains it to me. I give him the melody of my song and what do I want Prometheus to say. And I remember him and I with two bouzoukis sitting and playing, and he's explaining me the words. I have heard these words before. We know these words because the Greek language is one of them. I have heard these words. So
you aren't just singing phonetic Greek, not knowing what any of the words mean.
Exactly. It's like
you aren't.
It's no. It's logical. It's logical because you have heard the root of this word, like Gaia, the earth, and we all know that. Geo, right?
For some of your songs or projects, have you tried them in one language and then switched to another?
I don't think we've ever done that. Val, our guitar player and the manager of the band, he's actually always he's very Bill. If Bill wants to, Billy, our friend Bill Gould, when he wants to insult you, he tells you that you're pragmatic. You're very pragmatic today, meaning you fucking calculated. So Val is sometimes pragmatic in a way that he wants everything.
Where's he from? Where's Val from?
He's from Bulgaria, from Sofia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because how many people? You've had a Japanese bass player at one point.
Yeah. He lives in Berlin right now. We made a song together in Japanese. That, for instance, I made a song that can only be explained in Japanese. It is about this movie actually that we were doing, My Trip Towards the House of the Sun, and I gave him the melody line and everything, and he wrote the lyrics on it and played the bass guitar. So, and Val always wants everything to be in English. And I tried, Satan is my witness. I tried so many times to translate something to make it's just the melody line. It just doesn't fit. It feels like it feels like I don't know. It feels like the Sennheiser microphone in a bad studio. It's just like
I mean, some people I met in Denmark when we played there, Dead Kennedys in '82, said that they sang their songs in English because they could write and express their feelings better in English than in Danish. That was just them.
I can see that.
But, Gino Banana was probably sung in Bosnian.
Absolutely.
Serbo-Croatian, right?
Yeah, Serbo-Croatian.
And you must sing. So you don't switch any songs to that language when you are performing in Sarajevo or Bulgaria or wherever.
No. We're doing it the way we recorded it, and people in Sarajevo are singing it in English, singing it in Japanese. The other day, the Tayo, they were singing in Japanese. Like, okay, how's your Japanese? And they know what kind of song.
Okay, on that note, we are kind of out of time here. So I must bid you adieu. And thank you once again, Gino. And
thank you, Jello. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now we have more weird things to talk about that we didn't talk about the last time. Next time you're in my living room just holding court.
And I left the CDs. I still have to get to the CDs. Dominic's CDs and everything. Remember, Dominic gave me the CDs, and we were talking, and of course I left.
All right. Well, that's for him. Those are alternative Tentacles CDs, right?
Yeah.
Anne-Marie can get them for you too if you just tell her which ones. All right. Renegade Roundtable over and out.
My love.
Yeah. Put your finger on your throat. Bye, everybody.